All right, everybody, so welcome back to another episode of Colton Posey Fishing. So today we're going to be talking about the subject of early pre-spawn. And what I mean by that is, we're all familiar with the pre-spawn, the spawn, and the post-spawn, but there's a cycle that we go through called the early pre-spawn. And if you're not familiar with it, or you are familiar with it, stay tuned, because this is something you definitely don't want to miss. All right, so we're going to be talking about three different things, and which, real quick, before we jump into everything, if the video helps you at all, make sure to like the video, subscribe. I'm always putting out fishing content to help you guys, help myself, teach y'all what I'm learning, because we're all in this together. And if you ever have any questions, drop a comment down below. I love hearing from you guys, even if you just want to talk fishing. But either case, we're going to be talking about three different things. We're going to be talking about where these fish are going, why they're going there, and some baits that you can use to target those fish. Now, let's talk about where these fish are going. So, every year during the spawn and even in the fall before these fish move to their winter haunts and stuff like that, you've got a population of fish that migrate, okay? Not all of them do this, okay? This is kind of where it comes in. You have nomadic fish that are just constantly roaming all over your lake. Those are the ones that you see just out in the middle, busting everywhere. They're not really doing anything but just chasing bait fish, and they do that year round. The other fish that you have is what we call residential fish. Those are fish that live on the main lake year round. They never leave. They spawn on the main lake. They do everything on the main area of the lake. And then you also have fish that are residential fish in the creeks. That's what they do in the creeks. That's the reason I tell you guys, if you're fishing creeks, make sure to treat the creek like it's the main lake, okay? You go up in a creek, you see a point, okay, treat it as if it's a main lake point. Now, and then you have the fish that migrate. Those are the fish that we're targeting. And those are the fish that the general population of the fishing community target. These are fish that are gonna move from like the main lake into the creeks to spawn, and then they're gonna move right back out as soon as they get done spawning. Now, right now, we're in that process of where the fish are moving. They're moving quickly. That's like the other day when we're out on the lake, we're seeing tons of fish on the channel swings and on the main lake points and stuff. Mainly on the channel swings. The fish that we're seeing on the main lake points, they're kind of moved out and they're suspended. They're feeding on bait here and there. They'll move up on the point, feed on crawfish and stuff here and there, or the shad whenever the shad move up on those points. But most of them's on that channel bend and close to the mouths of creeks. And you can sit right there, especially if you have forward-facing sonar. You can do it with 2D sonar also, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. Those channel swings, it's kind of close to the mouths of the creeks. We're sitting there and we're just watching fish. You'll see them 100 feet in front of you, and before you blink, they're under your boat and gone. They're moving. And where are they moving to? That's the big question. Most of these fish are going to move, the ones that migrate are going to move to the mouths of the creeks, okay? Those points that come out on the mouths of the creeks, and it doesn't have to be a super long point, okay? It can just be a rounded bend or a transition zone, a spot of dead grass with a hard spot under it, something just off, but they're typically going to move to those areas. Now, with that being said, most of the bigger fish that we've caught has been shallow, but they're few and far between, okay? So when I say shallow, I'm talking 1 to 5 feet of water. Now, these fish that are shallow, the bigger females and stuff, they're pushed up and they're hanging out in the dead grass feeding on crawfish and stuff like that. Crawfish love to eat on dead grass and stuff like that. And then you're gonna find those huge schools of bass, especially when they get to where they're going. You're going to find those huge schools of bass right in between the points of the creek, okay? So, if you've got the mouth of the creek, here's the bank stretching out, and then you've got points that come out on both sides. Those fish a lot of times will be right in the middle, off of the points, suspended, chasing bait fish and stuff like that. And right now, we're kind of in that early pre-spawn, and what happens is it's very difficult to catch these fish because they're moving and they're going to stage up. Now, when a good population of these migrating fish get to a singular area, that's when the bite really picks up. So if you're struggling right now on the lake, and I've heard a lot of y'all comment and message me saying, hey, I'm really struggling, you're not the only one. When you go to the boat ramp and you talk to 6 or 7 people and all of them's like, yeah, I only caught 1 fish today, or whatever the case may be, they're just, moving away from any bait that I throw or whatever, that's typically a key sign that these fish are migrating. They're getting ready to spawn. They're going to their staging areas. And while they do that, it is very difficult to target those fish. It's very difficult to get them to bite. It's very difficult to get them to do anything. But one of the great things is it is a learning experience. So you're gonna see where these fish are going, and then you're gonna start to notice as you keep up with them why they're going there. They're gonna get to a staging area like the mouths of the creeks, and they're going to feed. This is where it comes into where you go to the lake for a week or two, and it's just like there's nothing you can do right. It's like you're catching a couple fish maybe, but you just can't really get on a pattern. You're junk fishing. You'll catch one here off of this. You'll catch one over there off of that. There's really nothing to put together. That's because that's going on. Now you give it a week or two and you go back, you're gonna find them again. And when you find them, it's just gonna be one bite after another. That's when that fun springtime bite kicks in. So we've had a lot of warm weather and we've had a lot of cold weather. We're having that mix again where it's kind of cooling down, then it's going to heat back up. And I'm in Alabama, by the way, so we have very bipolar weather. It doesn't really stay cold and it doesn't really stay hot. It's just kind of back and forth until you get into like deep summer, and then it's just miserable. But either case, you're going to find them at the mouths of the creeks, and then they're going to start transitioning back to secondary points, lay downs, grass beds. That's when you start seeing the grass start poking through you know, the top of the water when it's starting to come back. And that's really going to target, that's really going to be your key sign, like, hey, these fish, they're getting ready to spawn, they're doing this. We've had stable weather conditions whenever that happens in your area. But either way, let's talk about, I'm just going to give you 3 baits. This is really the 3 baits that I'm going to use most of the time during the early pre-spawn to try to find fish that are active. Now, the first one I want to talk about is a jerk bait, okay? Those suspended fish, it's just really hard to beat a jerk bait. And there's going to be a lot of people throwing the jerk bait right now. And it can be difficult to catch those fish, so you need to mix up your presentations. If you're used to doing pop, pause, you know, mix it up where it's 1 pop and then a pause, or 3 pops and a pause, 4 pops and a pause. But, you know, just keep an eye on your water temperature. If it's still in that 50-degree range, you know, long pauses. Not a whole lot of action on that bait. Work it on slack line. You're wanting that bait to move this far and not this far with a lot of crazy action. The second one that I want to talk about is a very simple one, and you know, that's a lipless crankbait, aka everybody calls it around here a rattle trap. This is the Booyah One Knocker. I like throwing that one knocker right now simply because we're getting a lot of rain. We're getting a lot of rain, 3 or 4 days in a row of rain, or just rain showers here and there. We got a lot of clay banks on the lakes that I fish, so the water's getting muddied up. I like throwing that one knocker, swapping between, you know, a crawl color and a shad color. That one knocks gives it a little bit, you know, of a louder sound, but it doesn't have that crazy, just a lot of, I don't know how to explain it, just a lot of vibration, I guess you could say, from, you know, multiple rattles being in there. There's one big rattle and it's just got a hard thud sound. And I don't think they hear it a whole lot. I don't think a whole lot of people throw the one knocker, but either way, that's definitely going to be another great one for, you know, whether you're fishing isolated cover or whether you're fishing fish that are suspended. You can fish it slow. That's a 1/4 ounce. I'm typically going to go with the 1/4 ounce because it's a slower fall rate. I can really slow that bait down, slow, and, you know, keep it in that strike zone, whatever depth they're suspended at. Winds blowing and stuff, go up to a 3/8 or a half or whatever the case may be. But it just seems like if I'm going for bites, I want to go with that 1/4 ounce. If I'm trying to catch, you know, kind of that mix in between, you know, a bunch of small fish and you know, not necessarily giants, which you're going to catch big ones off of, you know, whatever size you use. It's just getting around them and getting them to bite. But you know, the smaller fish are typically not going to attack a 3/8 or a 1/2 ounce lipless crankbait. It's just too big, and it depends on, you know, what fishery you're fishing and stuff. I mean, if you go to my home lake, you're probably going to catch them off a 1/2 or a 3/8 ounce, but you can catch a lot more with that 1/4, if that makes sense. The last one that I want to talk about is just that swim bait. Okay, 3-inch swim bait, 3/8 ounce head. I'm back up to the 3/8 ounce head because I'm typically, most of the fish that I'm finding are in that 15-foot range, and they're moving extremely quick. So that 3/8 ounce, I'm trying to throw that bait just a little bit past those fish and bring it in front of them. And then a lot of times, like the other day, I found out that throwing it past them and bringing the bait to them just wasn't working. I was having to drop it right on their face to get them to bite. But you know, either case, a 3-inch swim bait, that's the Mayor. I like it. I don't know. I just like it. It catches fish. But you know, either way, I'm throwing it on a spinning setup, give it a little bit of finesse style, and you know, like I said, it's just a tough time right now, and it's going to be tough for a week or two, and then it's going to really pick back up. But you know, the bad days make the great days a lot better. So either way, guys, I hope the video helps you at all. If it did, make sure to like, subscribe. I got you covered when it comes to anything bass fishing. Comment down below if you have any questions at all, or you just want to talk bass fishing. I'll see you next time.